I see Campbell's sunset there. Hey, Campbell.
Hi, Stephen. Yes, that is my Nantucket sunshine.
Nice.
Yeah, it's about the time I get out.
Hmm.
There's Dave. He's still in Great Point.
Sorry, I'm late.
By the way, there it is. Got it. 15.
Mike, do we know Fritz's status for this evening?
It
It looks like Fritz is connecting. I'm actually on the phone with Judith right now, trying to get her connected as well.
Great. Okay.
Hi, Megan, I found mine. Mine was in my junk mail.
Boy.
Hi, Nat.
Hello, Judith.
Hi,
There
Judith.
you are.
Hi, Dave. I'm having trouble with my Gmail. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm glad we got you up and running.
Hi, Judith.
Hi.
Hi Judith, Campbell here.
Hi, Campbell.
Hi.
Stephen Welch chiming in. Hello, Judith.
Hi, Steve. I've got the minutes here and everything like that. I don't know what's going on with my Gmail account. I'm going to have to resolve it tomorrow or something. So time is 4:08. This is a meeting of the Planning Board, September 13, 2021, 4 p.m. The agenda is listed. Is there a call for the agenda to be approved?
Make a motion to approve as written.
Thank you. Thank you. Megan, are these minutes ready?
Yes. As long as anyone didn't have any suggestions or corrections to make, they should be ready to be approved.
Okay, April 12th, July 12th, August 9th. Is there any objection to those?
Make a motion to approve April
Thanks,
12th,
Nat.
July
I'll second.
12th, in August. Yep.
I'll second.
That was John. Thank you. Roll call, Nat,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, Megan, we're doing secondary dwellings, garage apartments, and things like that prior to doing public hearings, right?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay,
I did structure the staff report slightly differently this month and will likely do it in a similar fashion moving forward, just including the draft approval letters with the packet and kind of outlining the items that we look for when reviewing these applications, just trying to eliminate some duplicate processes that were happening, just for efficiency.
thank you, Megan. And could I ask you whether you'd consider coming by my house to have me sign things?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, secondary dwellings. Is there any recusals? 11 Holbert, 6 Boulevard, 5 Sherburne Way, 16 Trotters Lane. Diane Catino on 11 D Street, 30 Vestal Street. Janice and Richard Hoff, 26 Quidnet. Jonathan and Linnell Volans, 18 Flint Rock Road. Is there a motion?
Judith, if I may,
approve.
I think we can continue with the garage apartment tertiary included in
Okay.
this. And
All right, we'll include the garage apartments, Michael Edwards Sproul, 31 Washing Pond Road. Also,
great.
John,
So
you-
I'll make a motion to approve all.
thank you, John.
Second.
Who was that?
I'll second, Judith.
That was Nat. John, Nat,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
okay. Judith, I. Tertiary dwellings, 326 Pulpus Road.
Oh, we just did that. I added that into our motion, Judith.
Oh,
So we're just
okay.
on to A&Rs. Yes.
All right, everybody get that?
Yep.
Tertiary dwellings, okay. A&Rs, 80 Pleasant Street, 1 Bloom Street, Main Street, 11 Hulbert, 41 Bartlett, 6 Dooley, 4 Dooley, 35 Shakamo, 84 and 86 Cliff Road, and 39 Pilgrim Road.
And Judith, just, I might have misheard, but I think it was, I don't know if you had said 11 Holbert, but it's 9 and 11 Holbert.
Oh,
And-
okay, yes.
And with that, I will make a motion to approve all.
Thank you, John. I didn't see that. John,
Second.
Yeah,
Nat,
I'll second.
thank you. Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, previous plans. Here's one that is somewhat tricky. 6901 Nanohumic Preserve. Megan, I know you were working on this one.
And I don't see the applicant on the Zoom to bring them over. But there have been, the applicant has requested some of the performance security funding be released. There was a line item specific to the construction of 2 gates that they're requesting reimbursement for. When we went out there to inspect the gates, there were several issues that were kind of immediately brought to our attention upon inspection. The applicant has addressed some of those issues, not all of them. I think there's going to have to be more dialogue that happens between the applicant, the homeowners association, and staff before we can kind of address all of these issues. So my recommendation would be to, if you're going to release, that it be subject to staff's final approval in working with the applicant.
Do you feel like we should release it, or you think we shouldn't release it?
As of today, they have removed the signs. They removed the tree. They removed the split rail fence along the cul-de-sac that had been blocking the pedestrian access. So those were 3 major pieces. The final major piece is the location of the fence at the rear of the open space. It's questionable as to whether that fence is located within the subdivision limits or if it's in the proprietor's roadway. That needs to be sorted out. And then there's also some confusion about, as the decision states, where the fence should be placed. So there needs to be some coordination there between the applicant to have that confirmed.
I tend to.
through you,
Go
Madam
ahead.
Chair, question for
Yes.
Meg. Meg, at this juncture, do you think it would be prudent for us to give approval with the staff recommendations to make sure that the association follows through? Or is this something without representation from the association that we should continue to the next meeting?
I mean, I think that they have addressed a handful of the issues that we did identify. However, there is still that major issue of the gate. I mean, Leslie can weigh in here too, but I think it would be fine to approve the release only if it's subject to the applicant coordinating those final pieces with staff before we process the refund of any monies.
Would it be better, though, following up on John, would it be better not to release it, to wait and demand it be satisfied with the gate issue
Well,
resolved?
Madam Chair, I think, as Meg says, 3 of the major things have been addressed. I don't want to release without the contingency that we will release only with staff recommendations and their satisfaction of approval, and then the monies
Okay.
can be released.
All right, sounds good, John.
Okay, if that's
Yeah,
okay.
I agree with that. Can I just ask, Megan, can I ask you a question through the chair? Will this be cleaned up by next meeting, or do they need like a survey for this location, or? This is a while ago, so I'm just curious.
No, it's okay. I got an email from the applicant on Sunday and I didn't have a chance this morning to touch base with Andrew about her email. It surrounded the location of that gate in the rear. I had suggested to her that she needed to go get a survey to confirm that it was not located within the proprietor's road. That's not something staff is going to coordinate and do on their behalf.
Right.
It's on them to prove that it's not within the proprietor's roadway. So I think that's the component that they need to work with us. So whether it's approved to be released contingent upon staff working with the applicant, or if it gets continued to a future meeting date, I think the key piece is that that issue just needs to be resolved before any monies are processed to be returned to the homeowners association.
Okay, that's good. That sounds about right. All right, I'm in agreement with what John saying. I just wanted to just ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So if we could, I'm sorry, Fritz, did you say something? Go ahead.
Madam Chair, can I, my
Yes.
only question is what did the applicant think was going to happen at this meeting? In other words, they have no one here, but were they advised they didn't have to, or do they think, I'm only concerned that there's an issue and they didn't bother to show up. But if on the other hand, they were led to believe they didn't need to show up, then I obviously would have a very different attitude.
No, they were included on the message I sent to everyone that is on the agenda, explaining that you should sign up and how the public hearings work versus the non-public hearings. So they were absolutely included in that email.
And do they have a representative?
Not that I see on this call, no.
Okay, John, did you want to go ahead with,
Yeah, I feel comfortable with what Meg is saying. Again, if the major issues weren't addressed and we're just looking to follow up. So obviously they're willing and they've remedied some of the concerns, and it sounds like the major concerns. So we're actually not going to release until the final bits are put together. So my motion, if it's okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve with the applicants working with the staff to remedy the issues prior to any money being released.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I agree. Second.
Nat seconds, Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Hi,
Judith, I, okay. 2 Francis Street, Shore Road subdivision.
So this request, the applicant is just requesting the remaining balance from their engineering escrow account be released. I've confirmed with Ed Pesci, the town's consulting engineer, that there are no future site visits anticipated and that the subdivision is ready to be closed out. So it would be our recommendation to go ahead and release any remaining funds in that engineering escrow account.
With
Is
that,
there a
I'll make a
motion?
motion to approve the release.
Second.
Thank you, John. Who is that, Dave?
Dave.
Judith.
Right. Nat,
Aye.
Fritz,
hi.
Judith, I. Okay, 67 Fairgrounds Road.
So 67 Fairgrounds Road, this was a recent covenant lot application. I'm sure you'll remember where there was some neighborhood, I wouldn't necessarily say opposition, but participation regarding a driveway easement, and the decision was ultimately conditioned that that easement would have to be either put into the approved area, or the easement documents would have to reflect the existing conditions prior to the covenant lot being eligible for a building permit. The applicant has sold this lot. It's in the process of selling. The covenant purchaser will need to pull a building permit before it's practical to have the surveyor come to have the work be done. So really the only way, without coming back for a public hearing, to request that that condition be eliminated, which is not the intent of the applicant. They are gonna move the driveway to be within the existing defined easement area.
Yes.
So my recommendation is they go ahead and submit a check for a performance surety bond so that that lot can be eligible for the building permit. I've already included with your packet, I believe they submitted the Form G, but they absolutely did submit the 2 estimates, one for survey work, one for the actual construction work to relocate the driveway, which is 120% of the estimate is what would be required.
I'm
So-
very glad that
Uh,
this one's getting resolved because
Yeah.
it was quite messy at the time.
Through you,
And then-
Madam Chair,
Yes.
question for Meg. Meg, in the staff report, I read that you would like the board to select a date. Is there a particular date that you would like us to list in this recommendation? That the work shall be completed is what the date. So if we're going to accept this, the motion with the accepting a performance surety bond and holding the funds in escrow, we should have a date picked out when the work should be completed. Is there a practical date that you think, talking to the owners, and what that might be estimated at?
Well, I know that the person who's purchased the lot needs to have their permitting and I believe be relocated within the dwelling by March 2022, which is just 6 months away from now. So Leslie, what did we talk about conversationally? Did we say June would be appropriate?
Yeah, I think June will be fine.
If we said June 30th, which is 3 months after the closing of the end of March, that will give them enough time to have the work completed that they need to do.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate to have the survey work done and the construction work done, have
Okay.
all of that scheduled.
Unless anyone has a question, I'm ready to make a motion.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve with the acceptance of a performance surety bond, holding the funds in escrow until the work is complete as of June 30th of 2022.
I'd second that, John.
Nat seconds. Dave,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Judith, aye. Okay, 10 Cliff Road, 10A and 10B Cliff Road. Request to continue.
We got one more, Judith.
Hydrangea, 6 and 8 hydrangea.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's okay.
6,800.
Yep.
That is just, the applicant submitted the updated legal documents to reflect the merger of those 2 lots. So it's just
Yeah.
a recommendation for endorsement
Yeah.
of those documents.
And will we see an A&R at some point for this, Meg, or is that,
I think we did the A&R last month,
okay,
I
Got it.
believe.
okay.
Nat,
I'll make a motion to endorse
Second.
the documents.
Nat
Yes, Judith.
moves, Dave seconds,
Oh, sorry.
John,
Yes,
John,
aye, second.
and Fritz.
Aye.
Okay. Public hearings, this is 10 Cliff Road, 10A and 10B Cliff Road. This has gone on for a very long time. They're gonna have to renotice it, right?
That's correct. I'll also go ahead and get an action deadline extension from them. They're deciding what they want to do, whether they want to renotice and pursue this or withdraw. Hopefully we'll know either way by the next meeting date.
What is the name of the facility?
Was it the Lifehouse?
Yeah,
Oh, God. I know what it was, but I forgot.
Wasn't it
Then-
Century House?
Yes, it is the Lifehouse,
Lifehouse.
the guest house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
like an
There's-
Airbnb.
There's a lot going on. Roberts, I'm sorry, the Pearl and one other have shut down. Right,
Oh, the
So-
Chestnut Place, number 2, I think you're talking about, Judith.
pardon me.
I think you're talking about 2 Chestnut, I believe, the other one there.
Okay,
Well, they're in the process of buying up the entire blocks there.
we had a complaint from a citizen about lack of landscaping and lack of historic character and things like that. I don't know if that's warranted or not. I know that some of the things that were noted there were things that appeared in the daybreak immediately after the person had spoken about it. So I don't know really what's going on with Blue Flag. Does anybody know?
I have no idea what this is about. I haven't heard about this. I didn't read anything about it.
Okay, we'll take a pass on that. John and Nan Briglio, 52 West My Comet Road.
I'm gonna bring Linda Williams over. She's representing this application.
Madam Chair, just one item on the
Yes.
left. There's an action, I don't know if we mentioned this. There's an action deadline of October the 13th, and our next
Yeah.
meeting is the 18th.
I think Megan's,
I'll get a form from Sarah to extend that.
Okay. Sorry.
John and then Briglio, Linda,
Yeah, I'm here.
what do you want to tell us?
Not much. You've seen this twice. We had the pool approved out in the Morelands Management several months ago. And then they realized when they finally did an accurate survey of where the septic was, it was next to the septic. So we then moved it over to the other side of the lot. And we're gonna put it inside and build out the deck. It turns out that if we start messing with that deck, the whole thing's coming down. So we decided not to put it inside the deck, and we're just lowering it almost exactly where you guys approved of it at ground level, so it's even less visible. I think Megan has the map.
Anybody with a question or comment?
I'm trying to look at the plan right now. Yeah, I did have a concern that it was going to be farther or larger than the original proposal. Linda, is it the same exact size pool as originally presented?
It's my understanding it is. Obviously, there's a coping that we didn't have before because we were built into the deck. The deck was a substantial structure with a very large bench and all kinds of foo-foo stuff on it. And trying to sister this into that deck and build that big a structure was just more aggravation than it was necessary to put a pool in. So we're just lowering it right exactly where it was.
Well, the proposal that I see on page 14, I believe, with the pool being highlighted in blue, looks
There is.
massive. Much larger than the original proposal that we had into the deck. Because if I'm looking at the previous deck, it looks like this pool would not fit into that deck.
No, the deck was going to be greatly enlarged. I think the previous approval, they're not the same scale, John, so
Mhm.
don't get lost in the scale.
Well, that's what I'm really concerned about, because I know that when we approved this,
That
it
the
was,
first-
I know there was a health issue, and it wasn't so much about the aesthetics and the size of the pool and it was really,
There it is.
it was a health issue that this
Stay
was
there,
going to be
please.
therapeutic, and now it kind of looks like a a very large pool that is just, we approved one and now it's because of the approval, it looks like we're doubling the size of this pool. It looks like a lap pool with a
John,
the
take a look at
jacuzzi.
this.
Yeah.
Take a look at the picture that's on the screen now. That's what you approved, surrounded by a massive deck. So when you go to the next one, or they're side by side, I think on one picture that I put in there, but it's not any bigger. I think it might even be smaller than the one that we got approved before. But what's the next page down, Megan? I think I put in a plan here where they're side by side. The HDC's already signed off on it.
Wow.
Where is it? I've got a picture in here of them side by side somewhere.
In the original proposal, is there a measurement for the size of the pool?
It's very small. I can't see it when it's not enlarged. It is, I can't read it. The deck expansion itself was 750 square feet. So we're not building out that deck to cover that pool anymore. It's just pools going straight down to the ground. So it's even less visible. So it's a grade with grass. But what's the next one down, Megan? Or is I missing the right side of that picture? There is a thing in here that they are side by side. I don't know where it is here.
I never received a picture where they were side by side, but
Got the original in here and then I had the other one on the same page.
Meg, is there any way to get an original and then having the new proposal superimposed on top of that somehow, or
We did that.
I
It's in
can't
here.
do that.
no? Well,
We
at
did
least
put that in here.
This
at
was
least
the
measurements, because it doesn't take much to do a 20 by 40, that's a massive pool, but I just don't like approving something without knowing the true measurements of what we approved. Because if we approved a 12 by 20 and now it's 20 by 40, there's a big difference. It's no longer a therapeutic pool for a health reason. Now it's really I don't
Go to
know.
the next screen. I can't screen share, so I'm relying on whoever's playing with the screen to go to the next plan.
So this was the original approval where it was cited in the deck, and this plan says 32 by 14. Then the second approval where it
might
was
be in the
relocated.
language. Stay in the language. It might be easier. The language of the decision probably has it.
It doesn't.
All right, then go to the plan. It should. There we go. They did not change the size of the pool in this either.
Okay, well then, if we didn't change the size of the pool, then if the original decision was for a 13 by 14,
14 by
I'd be
32.
willing to state that I'd make the approval with the pool no larger than 32 by 14. And this way there's no issue as far as expanding the size of the pool. If everybody's in agreement that
That's
it's the original size, then I would be happy to say, keep it the original size. And we can identify it with the actual numbers.
Okay, what's the next one down, Megan? Below this.
There's not a one below this. The top is the new stuff. Hold on.
Okay. 32 by 14 is fine. It's just that the deck was going to be massive.
Yeah, so it's still 32 by 14 in this proposal.
Yeah.
It seems
Just-
as though it's always been 32 by 14.
Yeah, they're not the same scale on the drawings. That's the problem. It's 32 by 14 and John, that's fine.
Can you go back to the original one where it said 32 by 14? Was it clear that that's the pool?
Yes, the deck was 720 or 50 square feet. That's twice the size of the pool. And it's all in already disturbed area, which is why you gave it to me in the first place. Don't you just love Zoom?
Yeah, right there.
There
Okay.
it is,
So it said,
32 by 14.
No, it's a all size.
That's just a terminology for the
Overall
size of the pool.
dimensions, 32 by 14,
14, yep.
in, what is it? In what? This,
shown in red.
In decking shown in red.
And then the one that you already approved after that was still 32 by 14, but the deck was 700 and I think 80 square feet. So yeah, the deck is no longer being changed.
The deck staying exactly the way it is now?
Yes,
And this, okay.
yes, and it's just going straight down to the ground. So
In
it's
the
less
picture, you
disturbance.
say you're extending the deck 750 square feet in the recent
Old,
picture.
the old one.
The one that was after this one.
The
I think it's
the
780.
newest one.
Yes, I think it's 780. I have to look at the number again,
I-
750.
Because the decking would have went all around here.
Yeah, and it's less disturbance just to put the pool straight down to the ground and run grass right up to the coping.
So no hardscaping around the pool at all?
And probably a 4-foot so you can mow the grass. That's the previous one. If you go back to the top one, you'll see how little is left in the ground except for the pool. Just takes Zoom a while to catch up. Yep, just a small edger around the pool, that's it. No patio, no nothing, just an edger to, so you can mow up to the bluestone.
And Madam Chair, through you,
Yes,
just so I'm clear, we're doing away with a 750 square foot addition to the porch, right?
Yeah,
And we're replacing it with approximately 448 square foot of pool.
it's the pool that was approved before. It's just going down to the ground and not
No,
extending.
no, I get that. I'm just
Okay.
trying to just wrap my head around.
The deck doesn't change,
The deck remains the same, so we're not adding 750 square feet,
right?
but we are gonna put the pool in the ground with a small amount of decking around the pool.
Yeah, it's just bluestone.
All right.
And the HDC was okay with it. They said less deck is great.
okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do we want to open the public
Oh,
hearing?
sorry.
Yeah, this is
a-
Like Campbell has his hand up.
I was just gonna say, this is a
Thank
public
you.
hearing, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
Thanks,
Sorry.
Megan.
You're welcome.
West Maya Comet Road, number 52.
hmm
Anybody wants to speak to that?
I have a couple of questions, Madam Chair.
Yes, Campbell.
So to go back to what John was saying about the original intent here was to approve a therapeutic use. I believe they were removing the hot tub that was currently in the deck and which was approved. And I'm just wondering, like, this is the third time it's been here. Shouldn't it have arrived on the planning board docket with the actual surveying of the septic field already in place? I mean, the only reason we're having to move this around is because it seems like no research was actually done as to where is the septic, where is the leach field? Is this actually even viable within the deck? Because each time it comes back, it's because, oh, whoops, we didn't know the septic was here. Oh, we didn't know the leach field was. Oh, we didn't know the deck was going to not be favorable for these conditions. Because I feel like we sort of went from helping someone out with a therapeutic use into a situation in which we now have just an in-ground pool that is in the MMD. Right? So I know the HDC has approved it because of the less deck and et cetera. I'm just, the approach that we have taken to get to where we are is what I'm wondering about.
Madam Chairman, can I respond?
Yes,
It was an old system. They had never any reason to find out exactly what the extent was. And I questioned it, but everyone was assured that they knew where it was. And when we were setting about all this, we wanted to make sure where it was, and that's when it was done. They would have been very happy to have it in the original location above all locations. They would have been very happy to have it there. But now we're 3 applications in and we're not going back over there. So
Right,
it's over there to the other side. And now that because of the deck construction, existing construction, and the amount of decking that would have been necessary and was approved by the ZBA, and the planning board and the HDC, it just became too massive a structure. And so putting it in the ground with no patio and all the foof that goes with these pools was the least disturbance of everything that could be done there. So they got rid of a massive 700, that's bigger than some houses, extension of the deck. And that's why they decided to come back, because they didn't want to just do it and not come back here first. So there's no subterfuge, there's no duplicity involved. And you can't put therapeutic pool in a planning board decision. So that was part of the original presentation as to why she needs it. She is very physically compromised, unfortunately.
correct. Williams, I was just asking, because it would seem to me an endeavor of this size would have been prudent at best to have engaged a surveyor, an engineer, et cetera, because I feel like we have had to adjust based on a lack of planning in the original approval application. And from
Campbell, could I
the,
just
there
observe?
would be more hardscape around that, or you're just going to have grass in your pool all the time.
I've already said that there's going to be probably a 4-foot bluestone coping around the outside of the pool, so you can actually mow the grass without mowing the pool. They didn't want a lot of stuff.
Campbell, is there something new you want to add here that isn't consistent with HTC and other considerations?
I understand the HDC, which came after our approval. I was just, obviously, I've made my point. I think that when plans come before us for anything, appropriate surveying and engineering should be done.
I do think you made your point.
Yeah, we got it.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there any motion second?
I'll make a motion if there's no one to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Oh, I'll second your motion, John, sorry.
John seconds. Nat votes yes to close the hearing. Dave
Aye.
and Fritz.
Aye.
Okay,
And Madam Chair, we've been discussing, if you look at the original special permit, the October 2020, it says 32 by 14 swimming pool.
Thank you, Fritz.
I knew it was in one of the decisions somewhere.
Should we put that
If
in?
I may, I'll make a motion, Madam Chair,
John, can I
unless there's
just
further
ask
discussion. Sure.
discussion? Do you want to put some kind of provision about staff review here, given the possibility of further issues with this?
I have a few I'd like to add, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay, my motion would be to approve with the first finding that's listed, that the siting of the dwelling in the decking, shed, patio and proposed pool, which will be sited away from known or suspected habitats of endangered plant and animal species, both on and off site, minimizes potential adverse effects on the moorlands environment and its scenic integrity, and maximizes the protection of such species as the area where the proposed pool is to be sited is already a disturbed area. Secondly, I'd like to approve with the staff recommendations, the 2 listed And also adding in the third shall be constructed, the pool shall be constructed no larger than the original approval of 32 feet by 14 feet.
Right.
And then any other staff recommendations as they see fit.
Yeah, we have it. We have some in the first decision, which are fine.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Dave.
I'm also, I'm just concerned about the decking area or bluestone, and if there's a way we can be assured that it really is only just going to be 4 feet. I just don't want to add more ground cover to this area. And I mean, I appreciate we lost 750 square feet of decking here, which is great. But I just want to make sure that we don't get some creep going here. So I don't know if there's some way we can figure that into the final.
Yeah, put that in the decision. That's fine, because it's already on the plan. That's good.
I think we can, I mean, we'll reference this plan, so they'll have to be in compliance with that site plan, but just to firm up the language in the decision, we can add something about no more than 4 feet of impervious surface surrounding the perimeter of the pool, and the decking needs to remain as is, that they're not to expand on the existing footprint of the decking. Does that sound
So
like the direction you're
something-
going with that?
Yeah, adding a number
Yes.
5, reference to site plan with no additional deck space and no more impervious surface of the 4 feet. Is that
Mhm.
something close?
Yep.
Sounds great.
Dave, if you're satisfied with that?
I am. Thank you, John.
Okay, then we'll add that in as number 5.
So Dave moves, John seconds. Nat,
John moves.
I think John moved.
Either or, I'm happy to share.
John moves.
Dave
Dave,
seconds.
I will
Second.
second, yeah.
Nat,
Aye.
Fritz.
Aye.
Okay, Judith, I.
Thank you very
All
much, guys. This is not even an hour into your meeting. Very good. Would that the HCC meetings were like
Don't
that.
curse us, don't curse us. Okay, 10 Rugged Road, Maple Lane subdivision.
I'm just gonna bring Dan Malloy over. He's gonna be presenting this application.
Afternoon.
Hi,
Thank you, Dan. Hey, Dan.
Mine blanked out. Are you ready for me to start?
yes, please.
All right, Dan Malloy for the applicant. So the commission has previously seen this property back in, when was it? December, almost a year ago, say 9 months ago. So it's 10 Rugged Road. The last time you looked at this, we presented you with a 9-lot preliminary subdivision plan. And at that time, we'd also discussed some other possible subdivisions of the property, whether it was a flex development, open space, and different ideas. And it was the idea of everyone involved, I think some of the board members as well as the owner, to stick with the conventional subdivision, which is what you're seeing here now. So what's in front of you is a 7-lot subdivision plan with the road. You may not recall, probably a couple of months ago, the board approved an A&R plan, cutting out 2 lots in the front of the property. So overall, the property is 9 lots. The application in front of you is for 7 lots. So it's, the lot numbering does look a little off. The reason for that is to deal with some of the land court issues. I apologize for the confusion in numbers. There are not 10 lots. There are only 9. So essentially, as the board approved the preliminary plan, you've got a cul-de-sac roadway coming in. We've got a 20-foot paved roadway. We have a sidewalk on one side. In this case, it's the left side of the road. And that sidewalk comes around the cul-de-sac and then connects into an easement that will go over to Catch-a-Lot Lane. That's something that was also part of the preliminary plan approval. On that subject there, I can get into more detail, but I would like to talk to the board. The plan in front of you and the pre-plan approval talked about a 20-foot easement, making that connection. At the time of that review, it was thought that 20 feet was needed to bring utilities across as well as a sidewalk. We don't need the utility connection, only the sidewalk connection. So we don't really see a need for a 20-foot easement for a sidewalk. So I'd like to at least talk to the board about possibly dropping the 20 feet to 10 feet. If that's something, you can still provide the sidewalk, but we don't need to put utilities in it. The rest of the property, as you've seen on this and every other one in the area, everything's underground utilities. There's water and sewer will be brought into the site. They have an underground drainage system. There's nothing out of the ordinary with any of that. We are asking for a few waivers. Nothing that I think is of great nature necessarily. The waivers are, one of them is for the grass shoulder. So we're looking for on that one is it's just the grass strip between the back of curb and the sidewalk. I'd like to bring the sidewalk just a little bit closer to the road so we can put the trees behind the sidewalk instead of between the sidewalk and the curb. We're just trying to avoid the long-term issue of the roots coming up and destroying the curb and the sidewalk. Then the waiver on the sidewalks, we're asking that it only go down one side of the road instead of both sides of the road. The project is small enough, I'm not sure we really need sidewalks on two sides. And then we're asking the board to waive the requirement to build a bike path. Two reasons for that. There's one already across the front of the property, servicing the property, and then we're also building the easement to across the sidewalk connection to catch lot. So I really weren't thinking that what essentially is a 9-lot subdivision really needed an internal bike path. And then the last one comes up all the time with driveway aprons. Subdivision regulations require that those go in at the time of the road construction. And probably 90% of the time when we come back to build the house, there's a driveway apron in the wrong place, which means it gets ripped out and everything has to change. It just makes a mess of things. So we're trying to essentially waive that until the end of construction. Other than that, for a subdivision, it's pretty straightforward. There's no environmental concerns here. There's no wetlands. There's no endangered species. The planning board really is the only board that will be reviewing and approving this. In terms of the preliminary plan approval, this has been designed in accordance with all the conditions that were put in there as well. And as far as I know to date so far, there have not been any concerns by any abutters.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Question for Dan. Dan, looking at the 20-foot easement on the Catch-a-Lot property, where the circle, it extends and it will show the utility and pedestrian easement for 20 feet. Where the dotted line looks to be. Number one, has that been already approved under that previous plan? So that's not really a condition for us. That's already in existence.
That's correct. The catch lot approval contains that 20-foot easement.
Okay. So I guess that answers that. But if that was 20 feet, wouldn't it be prudent just to carry the 20 feet going through, even though I know you said it's a utility easement that might not be needed later on, but being that catch lot is already 20 feet, maybe, who knows, maybe there's something that comes along in 20 years. Would it be better to have that 20-foot easement to connect so it kind of conforms with that other easement that we have in catch lot that was approved?
I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, the issue
doesn't mean we have to put 20-foot sidewalk there or path there. We can put a 10-foot path there, but at least to have the 20-foot easement, so it's part of, it would continue into the 20-foot that we have over at catch a lot. It might never be used, but I don't know. I guess I just don't know what the future will bring.
Right. I don't know if there's a reason. I wasn't a part of the Catch Lot Lane project, so I don't know if at the time of that, if there was some need for a utility extension like that. It's I would say in other projects, it's not common that we would connect properties like that for utilities unless there was some known or anticipated utility need. And I don't know that there were. I know obviously Catch Lot is built. It has water and sewer and underground electric, everything it needs. I'm not really sure what. I just don't know what the reasoning was at the time.
Right.
But
But being that there is a pedestrian easement going to be there, whether it be 10 feet or 20 feet, doesn't have to be developed and paved over 20 feet. But if it's not really going to affect lot 7, they still have the right to the ground cover because it's on that property. It doesn't take away from any building. Then I'm just wondering what's the difference? It just sets us up for the future if there was something unforeseen that we obviously are not thinking about right now. By limiting it to a 10-foot easement, we might be limiting ourselves to any kind of future where maybe there's an underground wire or something like that we have to throw in there. Just saying, if it doesn't affect anything now, what's the difference? Why wouldn't we keep it at 20 feet to match what we have on the catch lot?
the only thing we're looking at our end is if we decided to adjust or move or deal with anything between those two end lots or deal with an internal property line, that 20 feet is harder for us to work with on the ground. And we can, it's just would prefer the 10.
How does the affect the driveway there going into lot 7? I can't read the actual.
Well, the driveway there's enough frontage there for the driveway to go in. And the driveway could actually be part of the utility easement if it had to be.
I think that's in the next plan down. I'm looking at it.
Yeah, you've got approximately 25 feet.
Okay.
For the driveway in. So there's enough room.
Yeah, I don't know. Just a thought. I don't see the negative impact of keeping the 20-foot easement if it's never going to be built on or, paved over to be 20 feet wide. I just think if it's there, I understand if you have some issues changing lot lines, it might have, present a problem. But if you know that if it's going to be staying where it is and we have enough room for the curb cut, I don't see it as being a concern right now to keep it as it is.
Folks, can I ask, did we already vote to close the hearing?
No,
No.
Would somebody vote to close the hearing?
I don't know. Did we actually open it up yet to the public?
I don't think we did.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
yeah, I would say open it up to public. I don't need any further comment right now.
John is opening it to the public. Is there further discussion from anybody?
yeah, I got a few comments with Deanna. I was going to ask a couple questions, following up what John's talking about. Dan, I know when you set these things up, you have the ability to move things around pretty easily to figure stuff out. So looking at those lot sizes, the road width, so you've got a traveled way of 20 feet, or is that a layout? Because this isn't a 40-foot road. So what are we doing for a layout here?
It's a 40-foot right of way, but a 20-foot.
It is?
Yes,
So there's full 40.
that's right.
Okay. I'm just thinking about shrinking some of this stuff and making so that you could have two sidewalk, the whole thing sidewalked. I mean, I'm just thinking if I was like buying a house, building a house, I say, okay, my neighbor's got a sidewalk, but I don't have one. Just, I don't know. I'm looking at the other neighborhoods. This is similar to,
It's actually not similar to Mizzenmast and Pine Valley. I lived on one side of the street without sidewalks. And the
yeah.
other side did have a sidewalk. And honestly, I think it worked out really well.
You think so, John? I'm just trying to,
Well, I lived there for 21 years and never had a problem. So,
wow. Okay. But you know what I mean? Like that.
yeah.
1985 versus 2021,
Mhm.
But I'm just thinking about like 20 feet, you can't have on-street parking. So 20 feet is pretty wide for an interior road. I'm just thinking about making it, 18 or something like that and adding the sidewalk on one side to both sides. But that's just my opinion. I'm not, stuck on it or anything like that. I do agree, Dan, with those curb cut things, because that's a problem. When did we talk about this? The last time we talked about this was over behind Thai house, as I recall. What's the little road over there? We had, yeah, that was the last time this came up. And if you go down, I'll tell you right now, if you go through North Shop and have somebody else drive real slow and you look at the curb cuts, there's a lot of curb cuts in there. They're in the wrong place. They never got removed because it cost more to remove it. And it just don't work because nobody knew what was going to happen. So I would agree with not having to have those, you know, definitively on the approval simply because of the, you know, that's expensive to do this wrong. I can tell you that. And so I wouldn't, I agree with that. I don't know if that's a waiver, Leslie or Megan. I'm not sure what that is, but whatever they need, I would agree with that particular thing. You're not, are you doing curbing or berms beyond the circle? I see you got it on the circle, but are you doing curb or berms with the whole thing?
Cape Cod berm all the way around.
Okay, all right. Okay, I like your tree point, keeping them back a little bit. It allows for future change as well, other than just the tree roots situation. It kind of reminds me of Amelia. If the trees were back, would be in a lot better shape. That's for sure. So as far as that easement thing goes, I mean, it's sort of like John's asking for a 20-foot layout for the easement in theory. But I mean, whatever you can do with that, Dan, I don't know what the answer is. Making that driveway part of it, that one lot, you're definitely going to have some space there. I can see that. The one lot on the left of the easement is going to need to use that. If you leave it 20, you're going to have that driveway is going to need to be part of that somehow, I think.
It'll be part of something we'll figure out. The issue there is the building setback line is 10 feet.
Yeah.
So we're essentially giving up an extra 10 feet on the lot to provide the 20.
Right. No, I see that. Not lots oversized, but you know, that's every subdivision has different sized lots somewhere. What are we looking at? What are we looking at, Dan? Are we looking at full approval of, you know, potential buildings?
Yes, we're not looking for any restrictions on building quantities or sizes or anything else. I know there was one comment in this, a couple of comments, quick, so I know it'll come up in the staff report. One of them had to do with access for the two front lots that were A&R'd out. Whether or not we'd be willing to restrict those or require those at least to be accessed off the road versus rugged road. And that's definitely something we'd be willing to do.
You want to access them off of the interior road, right?
Correct.
That's what we would want. That's for sure.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
Meg, could you pull up that plan one more time, please? So Dan, if I may, Madam Chair, through you, Dan, that 20-foot easement, and I don't want to harp on something it really, to me, it's insignificant because nobody's going to build on it. We're not going to demand that there's 20 feet pavement on it. And I get your point about it takes away the actual, if there's a 10-foot setback, obviously a 10-foot easement would be nice because you can build up to that. But the girth of that lot is towards the middle to the back of it. And I don't think on the bottom part, it really drastically affects where you're going to be positioning a house or siting a house, because you're not going to put it in the beginning part of it because it's too narrow, to push it there. But as you get farther back, it really becomes a non-issue because you're really siting it away from that 20-foot easement anyway. And again, I'm not proposing to do anything there. I don't want to force building on it or put up fence or something like that. I just like to have that easement in case the town ever needs to access that. And they're tight with the 10-foot where if it doesn't do anything to the property and it doesn't affect where the siting of the building is, it kind of matches what they did at Catchalot for some reason, 20 feet. But I'm happy to go along with what the board considers to be reasonable.
Fritz, if I may. And the cash lot, is that 20, is that something there or is it just on a site plan? On a plan?
There's nothing on the ground. It's an easement on paper right now.
Right. And that's what I would be proposing, an easement on paper, not to build anything on it. So catch a lot.
So it's an easement, but at this point, there's nothing on the cash lot side requiring them to pave it or make it look like a bike path or a walkway. Oh, Megan, yep. You're on mute. I think.
Through you, Madam Chair, just to trying to
Yes.
clarify that for you, Fritz. And of course, it's obviously up to the board, but it was the staff recommendation to, in lieu of a bike path contribution, to have the applicant go ahead and construct that pathway connecting
Yeah.
the two roadways.
Yeah, okay.
And
That's what I
if I
meant,
can,
but- go
if
ahead.
I can just add, I mean, the model for that is at the end of Seacamel. There's a nice path that connects neighborhoods back there.
No, I would be in favor of that. I was just trying to figure out whether we're, are we gonna have it on both sides? And I don't know what the other lot owner is required to do.
Just a quick question, if I make sure I heard that in order. So you're looking for us, so basically this applicant will be required to build it all the way to Catch a Lot, like their road, or just to the property line?
I'd like to talk about all the way through to their road.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a copy of the cash lot approval in front of me. I'm not sure what the allowed access would be for us to actually go in there and build that on their property.
So I don't have that in front of me right now, but I'm certain that there was an easement granted to the town as a condition of the Catch a Lot subdivision to allow for public access through the subdivision and across the easement. So, we could look into, what exactly that includes, but I think construction of a connector so that it's obvious that it's there would probably be consistent with that, but we would need to look into that further.
So Leslie, just so I understand, so if it's an easement given to the town, that mean subject to them having given any money for it, the town would build out whatever that sidewalk pathway is? Okay. And in this particular case, in this particular case, is the easement to the town? Or is it the easement that a property owner is granting to a homeowners association? That makes sense.
I'm not exactly sure what you asked, but the typical condition would be that an easement be granted to the town to allow for public access.
That's all I'm asking. Yeah. And if it's that way on one side, then I certainly think we ought to be doing that on the other side. Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to close the hearing?
Is there anyone, Meg, in the audience that wanted to speak?
I have had my hand.
And we do have Campbell, and then we have a Christopher Connolly.
Campbell?
Yes, thank you. So a couple of things, I guess. In my mind, I like the idea of this to be similar to sort of the Pine Valley Mizzen Mast area or Friendship in its original configuration. So I guess I'd like to see sort of a single family home with a garage apartment or a second dwelling to tertiary standard. Something, I'm just thinking about the size of the road and, once you have full build out with, primary, secondary, and tertiary, you suddenly have an awful lot of cars and an awful lot of people. So that's why I'm thinking like that. I think these neighborhoods that we have as they've been developed are really lovely and comfortable to live in, as John had stated. And kids these days are on those like electric scooter things and electric bikes. So I think either maintaining the road at its current 40-foot proposal so that those will be utilizing the road, or having a full, shrinking it like Nat had mentioned and having a full sidewalk would be something to think about. And then I like the idea of the footpath or bike path, not like a formalized thing. I guess I think more of like a dirt way. Because kids will come and go and want to get to different places, and they're going to make their own cut if you don't provide one. So providing one would seem like a good idea. And I guess I had thought also that versus a waiver to the bike path, perhaps a contribution to the care and maintenance of the existing bike path on Rugged Road would be beneficial to everyone, including the development. And the other thing I had was if it would be possible on these curb cuts to make them offset so that one person backing out isn't necessarily backing out into someone else, but that's a traffic safety thing. So I'm just sort of throwing that out there. And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Campbell. There was somebody else.
Mr. Connolly, let me bring you over. Hold on. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
Okay. All right. I'm Chris Conley. I'm over at 4 Catchalot Lane. And when our subdivision was built, we were required and are required to maintain a 20-foot buffer, vegetated buffer against Sacanau. And I know me and my neighbors think it's reasonable that these guys should maybe maintain a similar buffer against Catchalot Lane and Sacanau as well. And that's our only concern. Does that seem reasonable and in line with what's existing there?
Is there a comment on that?
I can say that the applicant is, I expect, very much unlikely to want to give such a restriction.
Hey, could you put
Okay.
up the plan again? I'm sorry to keep,
Oh, no,
bring
that's
the
okay.
plan.
Hold on.
just so everyone,
bring it
including the
back.
audience, can get a visual of the 20-foot proposal that Chris is speaking of.
You, Madam Chair, there's a 10-foot something you show on one of the plans, and that must be the neighboring no disturb easement, but it's a 10-foot easement, not 20.
That's between Catchalot and Sacanau.
It appears to be, yeah, right?
Okay, so I could be mistaken. Maybe it's 10-foot vegetated as opposed to 20, but whatever we were required to do, I would think that these guys should follow suit.
I am looking at the approved plan for Catchalot, and there is no restriction easement against Rugged Road on their property. I know that the lots at the end of Catchalot have essentially cleared right to the property line already. So I don't know if it's really justified that suddenly they can clear to the line and we can't.
Well, I'm at 4 Catchalot and I abut Sacanau, and I have a 10-foot vegetated buffer, as do the Carsons next to me. All the lots that abut Sacanau in the back have a vegetated buffer in place. And that's to my knowledge, that's from planning board requirement.
So I guess my thought would be, if there's already a 10-foot setback from the property line, why would it be an issue to have a 10-foot disturbance easement within that property setback? If anything, you're creating a little bit more privacy between the two, and you're not, clear cutting all the way to the boundary, of the lot line. You're just keeping natural vegetation in that setback. that you're not going to be able to build on anyway. I don't.
Yeah,
I think
so
that's
in other
actually
words, don't
reasonable.
clear, yeah, leave, in other words, clear only back to the 10-foot setback line, right, John?
Yes, that's exactly
That's what
right.
you're
Since it's a
saying?
10-foot, yeah, it's a 10-foot setback. So they're not going to be disturbing it anyway. So
Yes.
why wouldn't you just?
That might be what he's talking about. There may be something in the language about keeping the setback natural, Leslie,
Right.
is that,
And
no?
There
He's
there
got
is
the
a
answer.
condition, there is a condition in the catch-a-lot decision, condition number 7, about maintaining a 10-foot wide vegetated buffer along this, it doesn't say Seek-and-All Place, but that's the location.
Okay.
And maintaining native vegetation, that sort of thing.
unless
Do they
somebody
mean
says otherwise.
10-foot? Sorry, Madam Chair, John,
Yeah.
just real quick. Do they mean 10-foot beyond the 10-foot setback, Leslie? Or are they saying just, okay. See, this is where we have to be clear what we're saying.
Just 10 feet, and I think it's shown on the
Yeah.
plan that was signed.
And
The
John,
gentleman might not know that exactly. So that's why I'm saying, so we're clear on exactly what that means. Because that would be giving up 20 feet of land instead of 10, but you already can't use. So, okay.
I think it's a reasonable request by Mr. Connolly.
No, I think that's a good point.
Recording in progress.
I guess for what it's worth, I would argue against providing it. I can tell you just looking at the aerials and from being on the property, both of the owners at Chundarugga Road that are on our property have already cleared right to the property line. One of them is partially encroaching with a fence. I don't feel that it's really justified for, they get the full use of their property. Now we have to put a buffer restriction on ours because they've cleared all of theirs. I understand the point, and there is a restriction on the side that we're talking about. It just doesn't feel like it's appropriate to force it on somebody else.
And where are you talking about, Dan? Are you talking about on the fairground side? Okay.
I'm assuming we're talking about the end of Catch Lot right there, yeah. So right there, those properties already, and they've clear cut right to our line already. And
Okay.
one of them, I mean, it just seems, I mean, they've gotten the privilege to clear all their land and utilize it all. And
Yeah.
so we have to provide a buffer for them. I understand what you're trying to accomplish, but doesn't quite feel justified and right to me to force us to buffer them.
What you're saying, Dan, is they're utilizing the setback for what they're allowed to use it for versus they're not building in it, but they're allowed to use it for
Correct.
something. Okay, I get what you're saying.
if you look at the aerials, you can see that clearly the two end lots in Catch Lot have clear cut straight to the property line for the Rugged
Okay.
Road property. And Seekenau is very similar. I mean, there's no one providing any buffer on Seekenau. So
Yeah,
as much as I appreciate the gentleman's concern, and I can see where there is a buffer running down Catch Lot, on the Seekenau side, that, I mean, listen, I think if people don't want to see their neighbors, they're free to put up some kind of buffer. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that it's not fair to do that to this development and not do it to the surrounding developments uniformly.
things have a tendency to happen aggregately as well, you know.
Excuse
So-
me, if I could just chime in here, I would also like to say that one of the reasons that they probably felt all right clearing to the property line was that it was previously a forest or a woodlands that was in their backyard. And I'd like to propose that actually by allowing a 10-foot native vegetation buffer, you're actually enhancing your development for the people that are going to live there. I live on the other side of Mizzenmast, and if it weren't for the 20-foot conservation zone between my property and my neighbors in the back, their lights every night would be shining into my house. That's, I think we have to be thinking about the environmental, the quality of life as well. Yes, people are able to put up vegetation, but it's not inexpensive to put this in. I would rather see the board make a policy of ensuring a 10 to 20 foot conservation zone, or however you want to call it, do not disturb zone around every development that goes in, because I think that's what helps the neighborhood feel less or more grounded in its surroundings. So I would just like to say that I understand that from the aerial, what it does look like, and having, utilized the backyard in a catch lot property, I thought it was quite nice, that barrier, so that even though the people that were out on their deck at the property abutting, wasn't like you're staring at each other. So I just think maybe the owners of the development should consider the quality of life they're trying to create for the new owners in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Campbell. Is there anybody else?
Leslie, I'm sorry. I think we need to get a little, I don't know, direction here. Kind of, when we get into these type of discussions, it's very hard to, think about what it's all going to look like at some point, because it's going to change. There's going to be fences, people are going to put up, evergreens and things like that are going to happen by themselves. So it's not going to just be, clear cut and everybody's clear cut. Something's going to change. There's going to be landscaping. It's going to be buffers. Leslie, my feeling, is I want to go back to this bike path / 10-foot connector. That has to happen. Like, in my opinion, like, if we don't do those things, this is stuff that we didn't do years ago, and then you wish you did. We did it at Richmond. I know we did it. I can't remember what part of Richmond, but I know we have all that stuff in. I'm not talking about Clay Street. I'm talking about from the other neighborhoods.
Mayflower.
Yeah. There's a little thing that goes across there, John. I can't remember the name of it, but whatever. I remember that conversation. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. Bicycles, there's not walking. Somebody needs some catch up, they walk over to somebody's house and get it, So it's not complicated. I'm more concerned to make sure that gets ironed out, and we compromise to the 10 feet for Dan to sort of fix that situation. And this other situation is, oh God, you can't make one place take 10 feet away and the other place hasn't. I don't know what the answer is as far as the decision. Maybe we could encourage something. Maybe the staff can work that out. Maybe we can make it 5 feet of the buffer. I don't know. Natural vegetation at the property line, maybe, because that's really what the most important thing is. I have that situation going on with me right now. We just had a nice chat about it. And you can work with your neighbors. It isn't hard. You just get out and you talk to them. It's not a big deal. But when you're making these kind of decisions, you have to have something in writing. I get that. So that's where I am right now. Madam Chair, I don't know if you want to chime in, Leslie, on this, but that's where I stand. I really want to get this bike path thing ironed out, or whatever we're going to call it, pedestrian bike path, MUP path. So it'll never get done if we don't get it done now. So,
Madam Chair, if I may. I agree with you, Nat. I'm looking at condition 2, and it simply says a pedestrian connection shall be constructed at applicant's expense, connecting Maple Lane to Cashelot Lane in lieu of a monetary bike path contribution, shall be completed. Completed and easements shall be recorded prior to the release of the final lot. But it doesn't say what that is. Walking is one thing, riding a bike may be another thing. So is that to be paved? Is it to be stone? Dirt?
Pavement.
And then again, Leslie brought up the fact that the easement ought to be to the town for that. But I don't see that is that implied by by these conditions, or does that need to be specifically stated?
Isn't that how we usually do it, Leslie? With this stuff, because it could be utilities.
Yeah, we would need to specifically state that in the condition. I think the conditions that are in your staff report are to provide some discussion, but some of those would definitely need more detail if you issued an approval and wanted to include those.
Okay.
And if I can just touch back on the buffer for a second. As I recall in that situation, the neighbors asked for it and the developer just agreed to do it. And the language in the decision also seems consistent with that because it says the applicant had volunteered to establish. That's not something that the board typically asks for.
Can I, sorry to keep interrupting, Leslie, I have just thought of something. Can I, through Judith to Dan, can I ask you a question, Dan, about this 10-foot thing again, real quick? If let's say you get a 10-foot easement, doesn't mean that the bike path has to be 10 feet. Thinking as you're being an engineer, you got to have some space to dig without touching pavement in the future, whether it be whatever could happen there that needs to be connected. Does it make sense to have the easement wider than the pavement for this, in this particular situation? Or is there going to be some, provision for that?
Let me ask a different question first. One thing that hasn't really been discussed in terms of this connection is, what is it? It's obviously pedestrian bicycle use, but there's we haven't really gotten into the details as to, is it a sidewalk? Is it 4 feet wide? Is it an 8-foot bike path?
Well,
what is it first?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't need to be 10, that's for sure. I think the easement needs to be what needs to be potentially underneath it versus what's above it. 6 to 7 feet, and muck path is 8. We know that. Legal sidewalk is 5. So, I think that can be determined, but I just want to get the easement number down so we don't go back with that again. I don't think the whole thing should be paved. Obviously, 10 feet is a wide bike path. That's not what this really is. This is going to be a cut through for people to walk and kids to ride bikes, which is what we want. But if there's going to be a utility issue at some point, electrical issue, you have to make it so that they can do their thing without having to, tear up the pavement. So that's what I'm talking about.
Well, from a width standpoint, a 10-foot width is the bare minimum, period. Whether it's a 5-foot walk or an 8.
Right.
Then from there, it's just a question of how wide. Sounds like we're talking in a 6 to 8 foot path. I'd really not like to go 10. That seems excessive.
Yeah.
If it's just a sidewalk connection here, which is probably, taking a rough approximation here, I can just give you an idea of what type of length we're even talking about. We're talking about a path that's going to be somewhere in the order of a couple hundred feet long, roughly 200, 250 feet long. And that's all the way from road to road. So if we talked about, let's say it was something like that is a 6-foot path. If we had a 10 or a 15-foot easement, we could meander the path a little bit, possibly instead of a straight shot in some areas, but still have enough room.
Yeah.
Still enough room there to build the path. If utility had to come through, there's adequate room for that as well. So, obviously 20 has plenty of room with excess. That's what we're looking at it as 20 is just above and beyond what would be needed for. I can't think of a scenario as to what utility would ever have to come through there. But even if one did, it would be at most either a water connection or a sewer connection, I would imagine. And we certainly don't need 20 feet for that.
Right. That's what I'm trying to get to. You're sort of answering my question.
Could we propose perhaps a 15-foot easement, which whatever you want to say, 6 to 8 feet will be paved? Is that anything, is your client? Is that
I
acceptable?
think we could come to, yeah, I mean, if that's a middle ground, I think we could make that work.
So 15-foot easement and then 6 not to exceed 8 feet in basement. Certainly don't need more than 8. 8 is the old bike path width and 6 is a wide sidewalk. So, it's not like there's gonna be, an army of people going through here either. So I think 6 feet is definitely enough. I just want to make sure we don't not get what we need for the future when we're all, gone, that somebody's doing something and we didn't do it, So, and we've already made those mistakes in my time here, so that's all.
One question for the material surface, we're saying paved. Could we just word that as impervious if they should decide to do brick sidewalks or something else, just an impervious surface of some type?
Yep, so you don't want to have it say bituminous concrete, you want to have something else, okay.
I want to have if they decide to change the material, I'd
Yes.
rather not have to amend the permit to do that.
Okay, I'm in agreement, you guys good with that?
And I do like your idea of something that's maybe not just simply an absolute straight line. It doesn't have to wiggle like a snake every 10 feet, but
Yeah.
Something that kind of moves from side to side once or twice, because it probably would look a little more residential.
Yeah, and if we go with a 6-foot width, that'll give us a little more flexibility to meander it a little bit, a little more room.
Okay. John, you all right with that?
Yeah, I'm okay. Again, I don't see the difference, 15 feet, 20 feet. We can still word it the same where with an impervious path, no smaller than 6 foot, not to exceed 8 feet, whether it's 15 or 20, I'm okay. Either way, I just wanted it to kind of match catch lots. But we still have to talk about the 10-foot vegetative setback on the other parts of the adjoining or adjacent lots to catch a lot. Are we still looking at that vegetative setback within the 10-foot setback?
I can tell, if I can just speak quickly, I don't think, I can tell you now the applicant's not going to sign on for that. With the minimal waivers that they've asked for, and we're providing the bike path and constructing everything. I mean, I know that there'll be landscaping there, whether it's cut originally during construction, it obviously will be landscaped, but I really don't see how we should be handicapping those lots and requiring a buffer when the people on the other side didn't have the same thing.
But the ones in Seeking below did with the 10-foot easement or
Right, Seeking Out did, and a lot of those, even though it's there, they have cut right to the property line, and several have actually encroached. I mean, there's been encroachments on 3 sides of this property from either people have clear cut or just ignored the restriction on Seeking Out that was supposed to be there.
Yeah, I think you just said what I have a problem with. There's not the Enforcement Act, but it's not for lack of putting in the setback, and whether it's enforced or property owners break the rules, it's put in there for a reason. And I think Cam had a good point. I think it actually adds value to separate and give a native kind of vegetative buffer from a neighbor. I know I wouldn't want to have a clear cut up to the property line and then have my next door neighbor in another development clear cut up to a property line and then just have this, split rail fence opening up a field, separating 2 fields. I kind of like that natural vegetative setback, but again, there are a couple waivers. We're down to 15 feet. I just hope that in 20 years that we don't need that extra 5 feet. Again, I like the idea of the 10-foot vegetative setback, and I think it's a bonus, but I'd like to hear from my other members if they're in agreement with me, and I don't want to hold up your application or continue it for one detail like this, especially since you think your applicant is not going to agree to it. But I just want to feel how, I'd like to see from the board how strongly either they're for it or against it, because, you know, if they're not in the same position that I am, it's really only one of 9 other findings. So I'm happy to, I guess, hold on this one.
Through you, John, I mean, listen, I like the idea of the buffer, but I also strongly believe, I mean, these are large lots. They are going to be, you know, in the millions range. And I think that the owners are going to landscape their property. And I think they're going to make their own buffers. So I think to handicap the owner here, I mean, I'm torn because I do like the buffer, but I also think that why would we handicap them, and we'll trust them to put their own buffer in. If they don't want to see their neighbor, they're going to do something about it, and they can afford to if they're buying a piece of property like this. I just think that that buffer will happen without us taking 10 feet off everyone's lot line.
I wish there was a way we could write something in about the lot line, the natural vegetation at the lot line, meaning a few feet of the lot line area in the setback, but there's probably no way to really do that. And we don't even know what kind of trees they are. I mean, obviously pines, I get that, but you know what I mean? Like, it has to be stuff worth keeping in that spot. I did it in front of my house, but I couldn't do it in one spot, and I'm still struggling to figure out how to make it grow like it was. It's not easy. So, I think we need to let this one go and concentrate on the bike walking thing and get that on paper correctly with the 15 feet is I think that's a good number. And whatever we have to do, Leslie, with that curb cuts, I'm not exactly sure what the answer is to that for language, but I'm sure that you guys can figure that out.
So the curb cuts are required by zoning anyway. So I think you can just put a condition in that says they're not required to construct them, during the roadway construction, but they're, it's still a requirement under the zoning.
Is that before we did all the apron stuff? Is this one of those cleanup issue problems?
No, this is the apron. So they'll have to construct that as part of the building permit process.
No, I understand. That's what I mean. Like, in other words, this thing about having to do it as part of the road, it seems archaic compared to, because you can't build a house without having that driveway perfect. I can tell you right now, you ain't getting your CO without any of these things. I've already been through it. So I think that's old as far as in the zoning code versus what we do now with touching the pavement, making sure it ties in. You're not going to get away with any of that stuff today. So, okay, that's good. Thank you for that. Oh boy. I don't think we need to get, so I just looked at something else. As far as the in lieu of the bike path contribution, I agree with that. What they're doing to put this in is a lot of money. It's not free. And the bike path over there past the school to Saken is sort of a, sidewalky bike path. It's kind of grown in, people don't take care of it. And that'll probably end up getting cleaned up, as part of the neighborhood at some point anyway. I don't really think we should be requiring them to do any of that. I don't know what anyone else thinks about it. maybe cleaning up the existing one a little, but not beyond vegetation and that type of thing. But we certainly don't need a contribution to, you know, anything beyond a little bit of cleaning up. That's it for me. Sorry.
So do we need, just so I understand, do we need to specify an amount of contribution? Or
I
is
think
that
we should talk, because the condition of it's fine, Fritz. It's just kind of grown in. If you walked over there and looked at it, you'd get out your loppers out of your truck and you'd start cutting yourself. Okay, it just needs a little cleanup. That's all.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not that bad.
I'm not quibbling about what's being done. I'm just simply saying, I don't know what else we need to complete the
Right.
conditions. Do we need to state a dollar amount? I'm just asking the question, whether we normally
Yeah.
state a dollar amount, or is that, how do you deal with that?
Please.
Are you all talking about the path on Rugged Road in front of this property?
Yes. Yeah.
We're talking about two different things. I'm
That's what I'm
condition
talking
two.
about.
Yeah, I'm looking at condition 2 when it says construction of that's this connector, right?
Yeah.
It says in lieu of a contribution. Oh, I see. In lieu of a contribution to the
Right.
bike path, they're going to do that. I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
And I agree with that condition, but I just want to make sure that because somebody brought that up earlier about the bike path on Rugged Road, which is that, you know, sidewalk sort of, I don't even know if it's fully 8 feet wide. I've never measured it, but it is kind of a mess and could be cleaned up a little bit. And that would be the only thing I think would be, you know, beyond this is that, and that's it. I wouldn't come up with a financial part. That's just labor.
So for the bike path in front of the site along Rugged, I just went through there recently. It is very narrow.
Yeah.
Maybe something about just clearing back the vegetation to maybe 10 feet would probably make a big difference. And then
there's a lot of grass growth, and
yeah,
you know how it is. 8 feet becomes 6 over 20 years. You know what I mean? That's kind of a thing. That just cleaning it up like the DPW would do, or a landscaper, you know, doing it for a customer. That's how I look at it.
Just for this, you know, I just checked our information. It's an 8-foot path that's out there on the ground. It's obviously grown in quite a bit. I think we'll be fine with that condition. We just go in there and do some brush cutting on the sides and clean it up.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking. Beyond with condition 2. Okay.
If I can just add one quick question. Condition number 8 had to do with lot releases. The draft asked for 2 lots. I was going to ask the board if the 2 lots could be 3 lots released versus 2.
No issue with that. Is that beyond the front ones, Dan? That's beyond the 2 that are created, right?
Right. So eventually, it's realistically 5 lots released all
Right.
total. DNR lots.
Yep. Just to be clear for everyone, I caught that, but I wasn't sure 100%. Okay. Staff, are you okay with that? Okay. John, what do you think? Are we ready?
Again, I'm happy with everything, and I'm not going to stand in the way of that 10-foot vegetative setback. So I'm happy with all the other things that have been discussed.
I mean, I agree in principle with what John's trying to do, but I think, and I think maybe at some future time, whereas we start to think about other developments, we ought to start thinking about whether we want to have a sort of a policy we go one way or the other, so that at least people know when they're coming in with a subdivision of what they're gonna be asked to do. We don't have to decide that now. So what do we wait, do we need to, did we
Close.
public hearing?
Yeah, make a motion. I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
Yeah, thank you, Fritz. Dave? Dave,
Closing the public hearing, Dave.
Yes.
that was yes.
Yeah,
John says aye.
And John?
Aye.
Okay, Judith, so we've now approved this subject to staff requirements.
Madam Chair,
No,
if I
we
may,
gotta make-
before we make a motion, could we just review a few of the things, notes that maybe some of us have listed to make sure that Meg has all the items addressed?
Go
And then we
right
can-
ahead.
Okay, I think we wanted to change number 8 to be 3 lots that shall be eligible for release after endorsement of legal documents and definitive plan. I believe number 9 would be in addition to be a 15-foot easement with an impervious path, no smaller than 6 feet, no larger than 8 feet, connecting to catch a lot. And then also number 10, there would be cleared back vegetation of the 8-foot bike path that is on rugged road to be at least 10 feet clear space.
Yeah. Yep.
And maybe I'm missing something else. Anybody else like to add?
The only thing would be, John, Leslie and Megan, would that number 10 actually fit in number 2 with a rewrite? So we don't have to have 10? Because it might confuse a little bit if 2 reads the way it does and then all of a sudden we got 10. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll make sure we get it all in there.
Right, I'd leave that up to staff to
Yeah,
reword that,
exactly.
incorporate into the findings.
Yep.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the plan with the one finding, staff recommendation for the first finding, and also the staff recommendations for the conditions now 1 through 9, with number 10 being incorporated into number 2.
Thank you, John. Nat,
Second.
Dave,
Aye.
Fritz? Fritz,
There you go.
Fritz,
Did we lose Fritz?
Oh, my God.
I think we did.
Oh.
He must have just fallen off. He's been on the whole time. Maybe
Yeah.
he'll log back in.
Where'd he go?
Hold
We'll
on,
text.
I'll shoot him a text. Maybe I can get him on the phone just for the vote. Hold on, let's try that.
Yeah, try him. I won't text him. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll call.
Oh my God. I wear a life jacket to these meetings on Zoom. Hmm.
System.
Nothing. Someone else want to try?
Well, you all only need
3.
3 votes. So I think he has them
So we
based on the
have
discussion.
I just
myself,
feel bad. I feel bad because he was right here. That's crazy, but yeah, okay.
myself, Nat, Dave, did you vote yet?
I think he did, yes.
Okay.
John.
And then without Fritz,
Yes.
Judith is left.
aye. I'm going to suggest that we take up the restructure of the fee schedule, and then if Fritz comes back, we can pick him up.
Is that okay, Leslie, to do that? Yeah. Just as a
Just. Sure,
courtesy.
sure.
you know.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan, for your help.
Oh.
That's
And
right.
Guys,
patience.
I have Fritz on the phone if we want to include him with the.
Fritz,
Okay.
Yeah.
Fritz, say aye.
Go ahead. Hi.
okay, Judith,
Okay.
Great,
Okay.
unanimous.
Governor's order, allow it.
restructure of fee schedule.
So the restructure of the fee schedule, this is just more of an FYI, that I'm gonna work with Leslie to just clean things up, more of a housekeeping thing. Some of the fee structures as we have them aren't so compatible with our new software. Some of the postage requirements ought to be updated. Some of the fees ought to be increased or different from depending on the permit type and the level of staff review and work that goes into it. So it's just as long as no one has opposition to that, that will be moving forward at a future meeting date. There will need to be a public hearing that takes place in order to move that initiative forward.
Madam Chair, it's Fritz.
Yes.
I have just a couple of questions, if I may.
Yes,
Thank you. Just so I understand, so does the planning board approve the fee schedule, or select board, or who has that authority?
So the planning board can approve their own fee schedule, but we have to have a public hearing.
Okay.
So we'll advertise it in the paper, you'll have the public hearing, and then you can vote to approve it.
Okay, but it would be our public hearing, not select board public hearing.
Correct.
Okay. Second thing, as I look through the attachment, there are other fees. I mean, where do building permit fees and inspection fees, are they part of the regular fee schedule?
So they have separate fee schedules because that's a department function. So those fees are approved by the select board. But your planning board fees are approved by you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because the building division's really a subset of the select board and town administration under the charter.
The only reason for the comment is from time to time, I know Andrew will say, we don't have the staff or we don't have the budget to do something. And so I'm just thinking, if to the extent that we're reviewing fees and fee schedules, we ought to be thinking about revenue that we need and what's the appropriate amount. Now that maybe that grows into something more than just simply small changes here and there. But it just, when I saw this, that question came up. But I guess what you're saying, so I guess I'll leave it at that. But what you're saying is the building permit fees and inspection fees, which I presume are the bulk really of the fees that generate income for the planning department. But what you're saying, I assume that's the case. Number two, you're saying that's a select board function, not ours.
Yes, and we are only supposed to charge, the amount of the fee to cover the cost to provide the service. So, and that can include everything from, the help from the support staff to, the professional staff to keeping the lights on. I mean, there's all sorts of things that factor into that. And the planning board roads haven't been updated for quite some time. But I think it's just important for you all to remember that, the fees that are collected all go back into the general fund. So it really doesn't matter if we collect enough fees to add 3 new positions. There's not a direct correlation between, what we collect and what we get back from it as a department. I mean, obviously it helps to support requests, but the two don't always go hand in hand.
Be the most important statement so far. Can I ask a question? Fritz, are you all set?
I'm all set.
Leslie, and I don't know if it's appropriate to bring this up, but I see the abutters 690. on several things. Is that the cost of each registered letter? Is that how that works? Okay.
Yes, and we send it out twice, and currently we only charge for one, which.
As you know, I think that is the dumbest thing on the face of the earth that we still do. That is like something back in the 1920s, in my opinion. We have more complaints because it takes longer to get a registered letter than it does to just drop a letter in a mailbox normal, okay? For reasons that are beyond our control. So is it something that is this the appropriate venue, you guys looking at all this stuff to talk about emails for every abutter as well as the letter, or is that just not appropriate? It has to go to the state or some other thing?
So the abutter notification is statutory, and that's prescribed in Chapter 40A, so we have to do that.
You have to do it no matter what. I remember you telling me this before.
We have to do that no matter what, and we don't necessarily have access to people's emails. That's not a public record.
That would be something we have to do. We'd have to do something through every map and parcel, type through the entire island to fix that.
Well, I mean, I don't think the assessor has an email address for people on.
That's what I'm saying. We'd have to change it in the people's tax bill to get them to put their email address for each parcel for future ways to communicate, whether it's an HDC permit, whether it's planning, whether it's ZBA, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm not talking about just, because that issue is insane. It's crazy. So I just figured we talk about it.
Through you, Madam Chair,
Dave.
I like Nat, I'm 100% with you on that. I just think that part of the process of the registered letters, you have a signed receipt that they got it. And so how you do that through email, I'm not sure. And would we just run into the same thing? I mean, I think it's something we need to talk about.
DocuSign. If we're going to send an email, send a DocuSign email.
Yeah, something like that, just so there's proof that they receive it. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think that part of the answer is email. You're not wrong, Nat, but I think there's ways.
All I'm trying to do, Dave, and I think you because you get people call you a lot, is when someone says we never knew. That probably is the most frequently heard thing ever. We didn't know anything about it. And it's like, you can't fix this problem without something modern. Going along with the old process as well, Leslie. That's all I'm trying to say. If there was a way to fix it, I know this isn't the right place, but I had to bring it up because it just drives me crazy.
No, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
So thank you all for all you're doing with this. This is good. Clean it up, whatever.
And Megan or Leslie or Madam Chair, Fritz, I can't see you. So just one more thing. As I look at the fee schedule, my comment would be, seems like the fees for the major commercial development is really very modest.
I agree. That's one of the things we're absolutely going to have a look at.
Yeah, because there's a lot of staff time that goes into that. Even a special permit, there's a lot of staff time that goes into it. So, I mean, it's different than a secondary or something like that. But the major commercial development, I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, there must be hours that are spent, hours and hours that are spent on that. So anyway, that's just my comment. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who is? I'm sorry.
I'm not seeing anyone. Just one announcement, if I may. It is in the staff report, and I believe noted on the agenda that we have changed our previously scheduled meeting for October that was scheduled on a Thursday to accommodate the Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day holiday will now take place the following Monday on October 18th at 4 p.m. via Zoom.
What about economic development?
It depends on the outcome of our meeting next week, kind of the length of the agenda. Andrew had talked about possibly having a joint meeting towards the end of planning board meeting or canceling NP and EDC subject to what may or may not come up on the agenda for next month.
Okay, but for the time time being, they're both on the agenda
Yes.
for that Monday. Okay.
Yep.
Good, good.
Okay, is there anything else?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, is there a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
I mean, I don't know what to say. Do we say aye or do we want to hang around and just talk?
I don't think so.
I can actually cook and everything. This is great. Thank you all. All in favor.
Motion
say
to
aye.
adjourn.
What's for dinner, Nat?
Nat,
Before you
roll
leave, is there a
call.
second?
Second.
Second.
John,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Dave,
Hi.
Judith, aye. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Leslie.
Thanks.
You have a
everyone.
good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks all.
Yeah, thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Hmm. What do I do here? Save.